In Matthew 19, there's an argument about divorce. And they say, well, wait a minute, Jesus. What did Moses say that we could do? Didn't Moses say in Deuteronomy 24 that there are certain reasons why you can have a genuine divorce? He doesn't specify exactly what that was. So they ask about that. Please note what Jesus said. He said, yes, you're right. Moses did allow you to do that. And he was exactly right. But I'm telling you, and here Jesus overrides, repeals Moses on this point, goes back to another part of the law in Genesis and gives us then the ideal state. And that exception for divorce, whatever it was, doesn't matter. The law of Moses is not relevant to you. Forget the law of Moses, concentrate on the Torah of Messiah. 1 Corinthians 9:21. I'm appalled at the confusion over such an easy thing. Shouldn't be that difficult. He didn't say, why did your tradition say that? Why did Moses say that? And he admitted that. He said, yes, because of your hardness of heart, Moses, not the tradition, Moses, I repeat, it should be perfectly obvious, Moses indeed in Deuteronomy 24:1 did permit you. Jesus, however, changes Moses here. We've got to get this right. Otherwise, we are divorcing ourselves from the teaching of Jesus. If you're going to insist that Jesus taught exactly the letter of the law of Moses, you'd better do it all. And then you would destroy Christianity. The devil has one major trick, is to separate you from the teaching of Jesus. 1 Timothy 6:3 and so on. In the current Focus on the Kingdom magazine, I've listed these verses. If you don't understand that obedience to Jesus, and of course to Jesus in Paul, because Paul is not contradicting Jesus at all. If you don't understand that, you haven't got the basis of the Christian faith clear at all. And then you're all at sea and in a muddle, as we were in those Armstrong days. Please give Jesus the right to be the instigator of the new covenant, which is not the same as the old. Allow God to speak through Jesus. You've got it right there. But it's really amazing to me that people cannot read what Jesus said there. He said Moses allowed you to do that, not the tradition. Not your twisted version of Moses. No, Moses is the one who said you could have a divorce for whatever reason that was. But I'm now telling you that that particular law of Moses is no longer binding. No good appealing to that. You'll be in the wrong covenant. But we must allow Jesus to speak for God. And that is a clear evidence, that one in Matthew 19:8. Jesus contradicted Moses on that point and went back to an earlier book, which is still called the law, by the way. The law and the prophets would include Genesis. But it's a contradiction of Moses quite deliberately. I'm amazed that people cannot see that. The other thing that comes up often in this discussion is the one in 1 Corinthians 9:21, where Paul is a diplomat. He'll be as a lawkeeper if he's trying to convert lawkeepers. He'll be as a non-Torah keeper if he's trying to convert non-Torah keepers to Christianity. He's very clever, and I would do the same thing. Paul says of himself, I, Paul, am a Jew, I'm a Christian, and I'm not under the Torah of Moses in the letter, he means. That's in 1 Corinthians 9:21. Some of the manuscripts, the less good manuscripts, actually left out that brilliant statement. It's in all your modern translations. Paul says, I, Paul, am not nomon, I think it's an accusative there. Nomon. I'm not under the law, but I am within the law of Messiah. That's a brilliant distinction. The Torah of Messiah is not the Torah of Moses. And some people are busy trying to keep the Torah of Moses, thinking they're obeying God when they're actually disobeying God. For though I am free from all men, I've made myself a servant, a minister to everybody, in order that I might win more people for Christ, obviously. To the Jews, and Paul was a Jew himself, I became as a Jew, so that I might win Jews for Christ, of course. To those who are under the law, I became as under the law. Now note this, please, very important phrase. Though I, Paul, am not myself under the law. Is that clear? I heard somebody say something about, well, it's mistranslated. It really means not under the law, but under the penalty of the law. I want to go on record as saying that's absolutely false. You cannot add words to the text like that. He didn't say he's not under the penalty of the law. It might be true too. It would be true if he's in Christ. But that simply says he's not under the law. I, Paul, am a Jew, and I'm not under the law of Moses, but he's within the Torah of Messiah. If you don't see that distinction between the Torah of Messiah there in Paul and the Torah of Moses, you really are very vague and obtuse, may I say, even stubborn, because this is a critically important point. Because God said, you don't need to be physically circumcised. You're not supposed to keep the law in the letter. That was a schoolmaster law. The law has gone up into a higher key. Jesus said that. Don't imagine I came to destroy the law. I came to what? Fulfill it. Bring it to its intended meaning.
Right. So here's the one of the examples where he says the opposite in Luke 5. He heals a man, and then it says, "Go and show yourself to the priest, make an offering for your cleansing,
Yes,
just as Moses commanded,
absolutely.
as a testimony to them."
There you go. Fine. You've got a good example of a command to do what Moses says. You've got an equally clear example in Matthew 19:8, not to do what Moses commanded, as a witness to them. That's why that's the importance there. Those who were running the show, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they needed that flat out evidence of what had happened to this man. Go and show them what has happened as a testimony. It says that right there. To them.